everyone. It looks like it's already time to start, and I'm absolutely happy to welcome everyone. Let me start with introducing the topic for today. So today we're going to discuss supply chain disruption in 2022, bridging the gap. So I do believe that this is a topic which is of high importance, topics of high priority for all of us, because again, right now, September, actually, we are starting the last quarter of 2022. This business year just started from September, new business year. And again, we all have a lot of question marks in our head regarding how to move forward, how to finish this 2022, what kind of supply chain disruption we're still facing, and many of them will go to 2023 for sure. So bridging this gap is extremely important to all of us, correct? And by moving forward, actually, let me introduce our speaker for today, and I'm absolutely pleased to introduce Kaloyan. But actually, sorry, let me start with introducing myself. So my name is Natalie Lopachek, actually, and I'm really happy to be with you today. And I am VP of Partnerships at GmbH Streamline, company and solution which is helping businesses all around the world to save money by helping them with demand forecasting, with supply chain management. And actually, this is why we are discussing supply chain disruption in 2022. So our speaker for today is Kaloyan Jelev. And I'm really happy to say that, first of all, he's an experienced professional and supply chain expert with more than 25 years of background in automotive, IT, distribution, and other industries. And what is also important, with this experience, more than 25 years, he is helping businesses right now with digital transformation, and at the same time, he is helping businesses to optimize their processes. And if I talk on supply chain, again, he is trying to make supply chain for his clients to be more efficient than actually than it was before starting working with Kaloyan. So please welcome our speaker for today. I'm sure that today's conversation and today's webinar will be interesting. Why am I calling conversation? Because, ladies and gentlemen, you're absolutely welcome to ask questions during this webinar. I'm here to assist you and to transfer those questions to our expert today. Okay, let's move forward. And let me also introduce a little bit our webinar logistics for today. As I already mentioned, please feel free to submit all of your questions during this webinar. You have a question window, so feel free to do it. At the same time, today we will have two polls. Why? Just because we're really interested in your opinions regarding supply chain situation all around the world today. And usually all of our attendees are also asking questions regarding webinar recording. Yes, it will be available and you will receive it with email just 1 or 2 days after today's webinar. So let's move forward. It was about our logistics and just a few words about our agenda for today. So first of all, we already accomplished introduction. We will discuss supply chain main events in 2022, global supply chain effects, automotive industry challenges. As the main industry we're going to discuss today, ways to tackle those challenges, and we will discuss a little bit which solution you can use to tackle those challenges, and this is Streamline. And of course, we will have QA session just to make sure that all questions you have in your mind are being answered today, okay? So let's move forward. Kaloyan, stage is yours. And I'm absolutely happy to invite you to this webinar, to this conversation.
Thank you very much, Natalie, and hello, everyone. Thank you for your interest in our today's topic. As Natalie already explained, the things will get all the more interesting with the opening of the new business season, and with so many things happening, We decided that the topic of today's webinar, although starting from the point of view of automotive industry, should attract wider interest to all the things that are happening now in our industry. So let me start our presentation today. And maybe I should share my screen now. Okay, so yes, we already see the shift in real time. Many analyses have recently shown that there are almost no economies that do not experience a sharp decline in trade due to the Russian-Ukrainian military conflict. And while Russia seemed to be hardest hit at first, the United States and the European Union overseas supplies continued to decline. Adding fuel to the fire are the highly volatile global prices of oil, natural gas, metals, minerals, and grain, many of which have jumped lately dramatically. The war in Ukraine is likely to reinforce plans for businesses to reduce their dependence on intricate global supply chain. This change will make companies prioritize supply resilience over just-in-time delivery. And may finally persuade some to reshore their entire logistics strategy. Speaking of strategy, let's not forget that for more than 80 years, the automotive industry has structured its work around the just-in-time production approach, which was impossible without a well-organized supply chain and the accompanying watchmaking precision logistics. High prices for the delivery of physical goods around the world will eventually hit consumers' wallets and force them to rethink whether the demand for goods justifies the cost. A negative swing in consumer sentiment will further dent global growth and contribute to the rising risk of global prolonged stagflation. As 2022 began, the container shipping supply chain remained in the deepest crisis it had ever been in. Then supply chains faced both a resurgence of the pandemic in China and a new very significant set of disruptions anchored in geopolitics, with the war in Ukraine triggering unprecedented ripple effects through the commodity prices, supply availability, logistic routes, and costs. Nevertheless, a confluence of other disruptive dynamics had already been melting into the supply chain landscape. As late as last winter, it became clear that a combination of factors such as the major pandemic outbreak, shipping and container chaos since early 2020, the semiconductor crisis, the snowy winter in Texas, the drought in Taiwan, and the ever-given container grounding lined up in a chain of random events that subsequently led to a production crash just as the car market was expected to recover. These imbalances subsequently became the basis for the distortions as manufacturers shifted their scarce components to the most profitable and government-subsidized electric vehicles, whose share increased significantly at the expense of conventional vehicle output. The result is a drop of around 12% in car registrations in Europe for the first 8 months. Yes, I know August was a bit better, yet the result is far below pre-pandemic levels. And even the impressive growth of electric cars started to raise doubts. And although the corridors of the World Economic Forum in Davos, ex-Volkswagen CEO Herbert Diess said that the group's semiconductor supplies are improving and under control, the situation with wire harnesses from Ukraine is improving. He did so with the reservation if something really bad didn't happen. In the same vein, the recycling industry is becoming increasingly critical, also because of the limited reserves of some strategic raw materials and the obvious inevitability of their sustainable replacement. Disparities in electrical charging and infrastructure are another serious problem for the electrification. Example, European countries have 2/3 of the absolute number of charging stations in the continent. The problem of the lack of common policies and uniform standards lag in its purely physical development, accessibility, and disproportional density are another problem concerning the supply chain. Although I did not put them first, energy prices, which have been a predominant topic of news and analysis in recent months, are another source of high strategic tension in the chain. All the above raises the big question of the prospects for the accessibility of mass individual transport in general. The UK Guardian last week issued a bright warning light that rising electricity prices, as well as in raw material costs and availability, and the chronic shortage of parts and a widespread reduction in disposable income are having a considerable impact on the product and sales of cars. If the trend continues, there is also a concern that there will be a knock-on effect on investors who will lack incentives to build charging facilities, making electric cars less attractive because they will be more impractical to run. The drama of political leadership is in essence in its severe crisis. It manifests itself in the form of the most general notion of the medium-term future, but apparently without realizing the sector implications and, as has become clear in the months since February, without taking into account the geopolitical risks of the new times and their price. The state of emergency declared in Hungary on 24th of May is just one among many indicators for it. Europe has been hit hard by semiconductor shortages. According to figures from Auto Forecast Solutions, for the year, they expect that the region's factories will lose around 1.4 million units. It seems that Europe is hit hardest by the chip supply crisis. And in contrast, China, with much bigger production footprint, is expected to lose just 244,000 units because of the semiconductor issues. So we are only at the beginning of finding a model for resilience, these impacts, priorities for the future, and best practice maturity model for global supply chains. However, what is evident already is the future-ready supply chains need to be intelligent, self-driving networks of growth, built on foundation of digital data and artificial intelligence to provide the visibility, agility, and new ways of working needed to create 360 value enterprise-wide. While they will be agile and consumer-centric, addressing demand changes in a cost-effective way, able to respond to and to mitigate disruptions of all scales, they will also need to be good for society and the planet, enhancing trust within all stakeholders. All that has been said so far leads us to today's specifics, namely that in addition to all its other major framework issues on a purely practical level, the supply chain faces serious problems in management, transparency, forecasting, and scaling, which ultimately leads to oversupply in order to secure the business activity, which means frozen capital, or vice versa, stock deficits, in effect, missed revenues from sales not done, and lots of manual resource-intensive work at office level, which reduces the very efficiency of the process. With such a high degree of complexity and unpredictability, one of the obvious solutions is to overcome Excel and move to the next phase, that of digitalization and artificial intelligence, which offer methods of overcoming some of which we will highlight very briefly.
Thank you so much, Kaloyan. And right now, actually, ladies and gentlemen, if you allow us, we would like to know your opinion regarding next question. So what is your biggest supply chain challenge? I know that most of you are facing challenges every time, you or your clients, if you're a supply chain expert and supply chain consultant. So can you please tell us what challenges you consider the biggest actually in this industry right now? And regarding answers, actually, we have next answers. demand forecast accuracy, automated replenishment order plans, responding to supply unpredictability, compensating for historical data disruption, for example, like COVID, right? And forecasting demand for new products. So which of these challenges are the biggest actually in your everyday routine? So please share with us your opinion. Thank you so much. We can move forward, but still
Thank you,
waiting
Natalie.
for your answers. Please go, Kaloyan.
Needless to say that the importance of artificial intelligence in virtually every field of human activity today is in our technological development. We seem to have reached a stage where it is no longer just advisable to trust artificial intelligence, but failing to do so, in fact, we lose efficiency. And efficiency is entirely in the field of competitive advantages. Thus, the application of artificial intelligence to reproduce human behavior in demand forecasting is already being actively applied in the daily lives of many companies. It is based on pre-trained decision trees forming an expert system. Dynamic simulation, modeling, in turn, identifies critical problems and helps avoid losses from inventory distortions. The so-called safety stock of goods is an important tool to help ensure fluctuations in demand and is a kind of insurance against those. Many companies apply such insurance to one degree or another, but the truth is that being deprived of actual automation, this insurance has a partial effect, far from the possible optimum. Among the good examples is the management of inventories with ABC analysis or preset parameters. Application of different replenishment strategies usually depends on the overall objective, either placing orders at any time or at specific points in time. Their goal is to determine the buffer of stock, protecting random fluctuations in supply, demand, and to function as a kind of schedule of how much to order today and in the near future. Many large organizations representing multi-echelon networks made up of retail points and distribution centers fail to maximize the optimization of their orders representing because they either do not implement the two separate strategies with proper discipline, or they simply lack sufficient tools to implement them in conditions of complex multi-echelon structure and a huge variety of items. Thus, they simultaneously find themselves in a situation of frozen capital in overstock and inability to respond to demand fluctuations, which leads to the risk of losses due to unrealized sales. The logical approach in inventory optimization is the internal release of frozen capital and the replenishment of locations using own overstocks instead of new replenishment orders from suppliers. Its goal is to manage a business spread out over separate regions so that each of them contains a set of locations with allowed inventory transfer. As professionals in the sectors are well aware, economical order quantity is one of the methods of offering a compromise between the need to unfreeze capital and the support of optimal inventories, especially in a situation of unknowns, both in terms of value of orders and deadlines of their delivery. The main task, as a rule of thumb, is to increase the turnover profitability. In this situation, when the goal is not just to unfreeze capital, but to increase the profitability of turnover as well, consider economic ordering quantity. Digital twin is a real-time simulation technology of a specific object or process in real life, and further predicting its behavior with many applications in the supply chain, which may include key performance indicators, demand, and inventory that a given company may have. Its goal is to serve as a window to the future, assessing various risks and potential disruptions in particular. The last of the ways to deal with it is the last word in fashion, if I may say so, inside and outside the supply chain world. Today, digital process modeling is rapidly evolving from an avant-garde to an everyday approach, and the ability to move forward in time to identify and assess future risks in the supply chain is among the latest methods of process digitalization, which aims to look into the future, assessing both different risks and potential disruptions in specific. Here we have our second poll.
Thank you so much, Kaloyan. Yes, and right now we would really like to know your opinion. What is the priority level to solve these challenges for your company? So can you please tell us top priority? For example, we plan to implement it during next 3 months. High priority, we plan to work on it during the next 6 months, or it's important or just moderate priority. Important means 9 months, and moderate priority, we will consider it in 12 months. So how important is for your company, or maybe for your client's company, to start working on supply chain challenges? Thank you so much. And again, your opinion is extremely important for us. Kaloyan has already shared with us several practical pieces of advice actually about how to overcome supply chain challenges. But I would also like to mention that we also publishing a lot of articles with practical advice, and some of them you can find on Forbes. And again, our team, our experts, in this case, we are talking about Alex Kushilko, we are working really hardly in order to make sure that you always have good content to read. So please make sure to follow our recommendations and read to our articles on Forbes. And this one, which I recommend to you, is Overcoming Supply Chain Challenges with Artificial Intelligence, what large manufacturers need to know. And again, the world is changing. China is not the main manufacturer anymore. We know that local businesses are becoming more and more popular, and especially if we're talking about manufacturers, it's Italy, it's Turkey, it's different economies around Europe. So please make sure that you go to this article. And again, if you agree with us, if you see this article is interesting, perfect. Let us know. If you have different ideas, again, share with us, and we would like to understand your opinion about. Right now, we will have, actually, there are 2 things I would like to announce. So first of all, Kaloyan would like to offer free consultation in case you need to discuss some of your questions with a local expert, again, with expert from Europe. So Kaloyan is here for you to communicate. This is first thing, and you can book this free consultation with him using the link which our support team already shared with you. Thank you so much. And second is we can have QA session in case it is needed. So ladies and gentlemen, if you do have some questions, feel free to ask actually in our chat.
Of course, all our attendees can approach us by email or other channels that they might deem appropriate. So we can continue the discussion at practically any time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have already shared the link to your Calendly. And ladies and gentlemen, I can see that our support team, and again, I love to work with professionals. Our support team has already shared link to this Forbes article I already announced to you. So just click on it. And again, feel free to let us know your opinion about it, okay? So thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Thank you so much, actually, thank you. How do you see the disruption impact on Middle East? So, Kaloyan, if you can elaborate on this one, and if you can answer this question, we would be really, really thankful to you for it.
I don't see any world region that will be isolated by all those disruptive effects. Of course, all of them have different specifics. And while we in Europe are feeling the chip crunch due to our strong historical automotive industry, the problems in Middle East could be quite different, not because of the oil consumption is changing due to the embargo on Russia, but also because many of the transport routes will be redirected from their traditional places to new ones. So without being an expert on Middle East, of course, I should say that the Middle East countries will feel this disruption as many other regions will do with their own economic and resource specifics. So they should, and they will need to deal them one by one. And so to say, the things are moving so fast that many of the problems that they and we will face are really unpredictable. The only thing I could say is that using digital tools will help react faster and smarter to the changing environment.
Thank you, Kaloyan. Thank you so much. And actually, our chat is already working, and we have a lot of questions. So first one, just a quick question from John. How do you deal with the need? How do you deal with the need for supplier hyperlocalization? This is first thing, and he's also elaborating. Also, how do you go about identifying new, novel, and innovative supplier who are maybe the unseen side of marketplaces like Alibaba?
And a third one, I see from him.
Yes,
do any other
John
participants struggle with this same problem? So many and so different questions. Let's try dealing them one by one. How do you deal with the need for supplier hyperlocalization? I'm not sure that this is something that should be done simply with the software. This is the short answer. Of course, the supplier hyperlocalization is a problem that many companies will face in the nearby future, simply because many of the suppliers are looking for nearshoring or at least relocation of suppliers that are not quite reliable due to the changing geopolitical situation. So I'm not sure that this is quite a topic for the Streamline solution itself. It's a wider thing that has a lot of contact points with the internal organization and the strategy of different companies, manufacturers, and traders.
Thank you so much, Kaloyan. Absolutely, totally agree with you that a solution has to support the strategy, right? We have to
exactly.
Strategy. We have to.
It cannot create it itself.
Absolutely, absolutely. Usually we are starting with strategy. Strategy has to be defined by management, and after that it is important to find the solution which is capable of supporting the strategy and making sure that strategy is successfully achieved. This is what is important.
Exactly.
So thank you for answering. Thank you for your question, John. Okay. It looks like we have one more question from Fahad. How to develop supply employees? Wonderful question. Actually, Kaloyan, if you don't mind, I can respond to this one. So, first of all, Fahad, if you can elaborate a little bit on the industry you're working with, but actually it doesn't matter which industry, how to develop supply employees, education. So I will always say that most important what we can do for our employees is education and educating them. And if you're talking about your employees, you have to make sure that they know, first of all, what's happening on the market, that they are capable of communicating with business world. Of course, it's about English. And third, they have to be capable of using technology. So if your employees are capable only of using Excel and calculator, definitely will have problem with this kind of workers. But they have to use technology in order to be efficient. And again, if you contact me directly, again, you can contact me on LinkedIn. I will just send you, or one of my assistants will send you link to a course which we have created for our clients. And again, we offer a course learning supply chain strategies and Streamline solution we offer for our clients for free. For our partners, it is for free. And again, if you attend our webinars, you are part of our family. And if you want your employees to attend our course, which is online course, again, it will be absolutely for free. What you have to mention is just that you attended our webinar. So please, Fahad, feel free to join, to contact me, and we will just provide this link to your employee, and they can just have this, investment into their education and again, into your company, just because you attended this webinar. Okay.
And one thing to add, if you allow me, to this is that jumping from Excel and calculator to artificial intelligence is not a single step process. But if you take it seriously and sustainably, you will go through this path with our help actually quite easily. But still take this task seriously and do not expect extremely quick results. Be patient.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, and again, for quick results, there are also beautiful solutions which we will discuss maybe. And so thanks for joining us. Please check your email. We will send you a link to book free consultation with Kaloyan. At the same time, you will receive a link for you or for your colleagues, your team members, to have this free course from Streamline. Thanks for joining us, and see you next time.
And thanks once again for your interest in today's presentation for me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Kaloyan. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing your expertise. It was really
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you. So thanks, everyone, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.